What's up guys, Christopher Walker here, and I just want to tell you quickly about how last year, some of the details about how I lost 30 pounds in 3 months. So I averaged 10 pounds per month, and I did it basically following a protocol that I'm now calling the Thermo Diet. It's very simple. It doesn't even feel like dieting. You feel great, and it's extremely healthy. It's not limiting in any capacity, and that's why it doesn't really feel like a diet, because your body this entire time that you're eating this way and living this way feels very well nourished. And I'm going to show some pictures. Luckily I snapped some pictures even though I was a bit embarrassed. I don't know if anyone, I think a lot of people get into this situation, but there comes these periods, these ups and downs through your life where sometimes you just kind of don't even realize how out of shape you got until you look back on it and you're like, holy shit, how did I let myself do that? But I went through a period where I just basically slowly wasn't paying attention to the amount of weight that I was gaining, and I got kind of fat, to be honest. I'm not ashamed of that. But when I noticed it, when I realized it, I was like, shit, I gotta do something about this. And part of it was, I just kind of wasn't really paying much attention to the amount of food that I was eating. And that does matter. Energy balance does matter. Even if you're eating high quality foods, if you're eating too much, you're gonna get fat. It's kind of the way it goes. Especially if your metabolic rate's not revved up to completely match that, and your activity level's not matching that either, you're gonna gain fat. So I got to this point where I realized I was like, I got some weight to lose. Interestingly though, one of the main things that I did to get to the end of the transformation, or really to where I am now, it was all in my mind. It really had a lot to do with changing my mindset and my perception of it, because my initial thought was that I'm gonna have trouble losing this fat, and I was thinking that I kind of was like in this pattern for a while where I thought that was the case. And then I realized to myself, I was like, that's not true, that's the stupidest thing. And sometimes these mindset things are so subtle that we don't really question them. It's like, that's not true at all. I'm gonna actively work on that. And if I work on eliminating that mental barrier, then I'm going to be far more successful in my efforts. So it's not gonna feel like I'm fighting an uphill battle against this constant subconscious resistance that I'm telling myself. If you have that kind of resistance in your subconscious where you're saying, this is gonna be difficult, this is gonna be hard, I'm gonna, basically what you end up doing is you find ways to self-sabotage that process. And this is not even just with losing weight, but like with anything. If you're saying that same thing about making more money in your career, or improving your love life, any of these things, if you're saying this is gonna be difficult in your subconscious mind, or even, even in your conscious mind, but if you just start telling yourself that over and over and over, you have this negative coherence. Like it's going to be difficult for you if you tell yourself it's going to be difficult. So when I caught that was one of the biggest things. That's not the right thing to be telling myself. I'm gonna make this easy for myself. I'm gonna tell myself this is gonna be easy for you. This is not even gonna feel like a diet. And one of the biggest steps of that is gonna say, I'm already in great shape. I'm just gotta walk it out. I've just gotta put in the time and the effort and build the habits that my future self that's already in great shape already has. You gotta look and envision, who are you when you lose that 30 pounds? What is that person doing differently than what you're doing right now? And just start doing those habits. If you just become that person, it's a process known as time collapsing. You literally just become that person through the daily habits that they do, things that they're eating, the way that they're thinking about the world. You naturally you are them, and it just becomes a matter of walking it out. It becomes a matter of just putting in that time, and eventually, in as little as 3 months, you just become that person. So I'll show you the couple pictures. Here's the before picture again, and then here are 2 after pictures, where really in a matter, that losing that 30 pounds really made a big, massive difference. My waist size went from 37 to 33, and as you can see in the photos, I measure, one of the main things that I look for when I'm dropping body fat and getting leaner is really around the belly button. if you can notice, like when the little ring around the belly button starts to stick up, you know you're getting into a really good place in terms of a body fat percentage. You don't have to go like do any measurement, like crazy machines and all that stuff. But that's a really good indicator. Maybe unless you have an Audi belly button, then you might have to try something different. But for me at least, I thought that was a good indicator. That was when I knew I was getting quite lean, at a healthy level of lean. I'm not looking to get like super shredded or anything, but the amount of health change, I felt so much healthier, and I have felt so much healthier since dropping that extra body fat. Massive, massive difference. You know, one of the things a lot of people say is like, oh, you're looking small. I don't really care. I feel so much healthier. I'm still lifting a lot. I didn't lose much strength through that entire process. You know, in clothes, when you get leaner, you definitely look smaller, but if you can maintain that muscle mass by lifting properly throughout that period of time, having resistance training still, doing your sprints, doing that stuff, you're not gonna lose much muscle. You'll maintain your strength. So just kind of a daily look at it. If you want to learn more about the Thermo Diet, the thermodiet.com is where you can get on the waiting list. I also have a roadmap. If you look at other videos on my channel too, I've got this roadmap. I'll put it in the description of this video, like it's a graphic. It's really cool. But really what I ended up doing, it was the most simple daily protocol. Like it eliminates the need to even worry or think about food. You follow the Thermo Diet principles in terms of what types of fats to eat, carbs, etc. I focus very much on micronutrient density. Eventually, like literally all cravings went away, even craving for alcohol. Just cravings go away when you have a nutrient-dense diet, which is really liberating, because a lot of people deal with cravings on a daily basis. Like, oh, I gotta get this food, or I'm gonna fall off the wagon of my diet because I just can't stop thinking about cake or whatever, donuts or whatever kind of craving. But when you eat a really nutrient-rich diet, that goes away. You don't have any cravings, and that's a pretty great place to be in. Really what I would do is I would fast through the day, and I would have my first meal breaking the fast with some form of fruit. So that fruit could be as a whole fruit, or it could be blended. Typically I would either have whole fruit with bone broth, and I'll make this bone broth with like garlic powder, and melt a little bit of coconut oil in it as well, sea salt, and it gives you all the right amino acids like the glycine and the taurine that are really, really important for revving your metabolism back up, the salts that are really important for your nervous system and your metabolism, along with the fruit, which the fructose, if in the form of like a whole fruit when you're breaking your fast, is really good for also revving your metabolism back up. And so that's the proper way, I think, to break a fast, and that's what I talk about with the Thermo Diet. And then I would have one big meal in the evening, and that would be typically more focused on the macronutrients that I needed for the day. So, you know, eating enough protein. So typically it consists of a big portion of good meat that was like grass-fed, organic, or some really good eggs or shellfish, that sort of thing. Along with starch sources like really good potatoes, for example, or sweet potatoes, etc. It's an extremely simple diet. It's not super expensive at all, so there's really no excuse against like I can't afford this kind of thing. Pretty much everyone can afford this kind of diet. But a really simple way to think about it is just breaking it down into a micronutrient heavy meal that you break your fast with, and then a macronutrient focused meal that you have in the evening that is going to fulfill those needs, the macronutrient and the caloric need there, so you also feel extremely satisfied and content, especially before going to bed. You don't have to fast on this kind of protocol. You can eat breakfast, but I'd recommend breaking your fast like for breakfast still with that same principle of getting the fruit, the salt, and preferably some, if you can, get some glycine, taurine in there as well, and you'll be feeling really great in no time. Anyways, if you want all the details for the Thermo Diet, the thermodiet.com, there's a waiting list there for when I release the full program. But then if you want the quick and dirty in a nutshell, check the playlist on this channel, Thermo Diet playlist. There's other videos on there, and I have the roadmap in the description linked below for you. So if you have any other questions, ask them in the comments about that or on those other videos. And hopefully this was a informative video. Again, mindset really matters. If you want this to be a long-term change, mindset matters. Food quality really matters. Make sure you're not getting food that's pumped full of all this garbage that most of our food industry is putting in our food supply right now. And micronutrients really do matter. So hopefully this was helpful. I'll see you in the next video.